Hello everyone, my name is Sophia and today I'm continuing part 4 of Little House in the Big Woods. And that was the end of the pig's tale. There would not be another one till next year. Uncle Henry went home after dinner and Pa went away to his work in the big woods. But for Laura and Mary and Ma, butchering time had only begun. There was a great deal for Ma to do, and Laura and Mary helped her. All that day and the next, Ma was trying out of the lard in the big iron pots on the cook stove. Laura and Mary carried wood and watched the fire. It must be hot, but not too hot, or the lard would burn. The big pots stirred and boiled, but they must not smoke. From time to time, Ma skimmed out the brown crackling. She put them in a cloth and squeezed out every bit of the lard, and then she put the cracklings away. She would use them to favor Johnny cake later. Cracklings were very good to eat, but Laura and Mary could have only a taste. They were too rich for little girls, Ma said. Ma scrubbed and cleaned the head carefully, and then she boiled it till all the meat fell off the bones. She chopped the meat fine with her chopping knife in the wooden bowl. She seasoned it with pepper and salt and spices. Then she mixed the pot liquor with it and set it away in a pan to cool. When it was cool, it would cut in slices, and that was the head cheese. The little pieces of meat, lean and fat, that had been cut off the large pieces. Ma chopped until it was all chopped fire. She seasoned it with salt and pepper and with dried sage leaves from the garden. Then, with her hands, she tossed and turned it until it was well mixed, and she molded it into balls. She put the balls in a pan out in the shed where they would freeze and be good to eat all winter. That was the sausage. When butchering time was over, there were the sausages and the head cheese and big jars of lard and keg of white salt pork out of the shed. And in the attic hung the smoked hams and shoulders. The little house was fairly busting with good food stored away for the long winter. The pantry and the shed and the cellar were full. So was the attic. Laura and Mary must play in the house now, for it was cold outdoors and the brown leaves were all falling from the trees. The fire in the cook stove never went out. At night, Pa baked it with ashes to keep the coals alive till morning. The attic was a lovely place to play. The large round colored pumpkins made beautiful chairs and tables. The red peppers and the onions dangled overhead. The hams and venisons hung in their paper wrappings, and all the bunches of dried herbs and spiky herbs for cooking and bitter herbs for medicine gave the place a dusty, spicy smell. Often the wind howled outside with a cold and lonesome sound, but in the attic, Laura and Mary played house with the squashes and the pumpkins, and everything was snug and cozy. Mary was bigger than Laura, and she had a rag doll named Nettie. Laura had only a corn cob wrapped in a handkerchief, but it was a good doll. It was named Susan. It wasn't Susan's fault that she was only a corn cob. Sometimes Mary let Laura hold Nettie, but she did it only when Susan couldn't see. The best time of all were at night after supper. Pa brought his traps in from the shed to grease them by the fire. He rubbed them bright and greased the hinges of the jars and the springs of the pan with a feather dipped in the bear grease. There were small traps and middle-sized traps and great bear traps with their teeth in their jaws that Pa said would break a man's legs if they shot onto it. While he greased the traps, Pa told Mary and Laura little jokes and stories, and afterwards he would play his fiddle. The doors and the windows were tightly shut, and the crack of the window frames shoved it with clothes to keep out of the cold. But Black Susan, the cat, came and went as she pleased, days and nights through the swinging doors of the cat hole in the bottom of the doors. She always went very quickly, so the door would not catch her tail when it fell shut behind her. One night when Pa was greasing the traps, he watched Black Susan come in, and he said, "There was once a man who had 2 cats, and a big cat and a little cat." Laura and Mary ran to lean on his knees and hear the rest. "He had 2 cats," he repeated, "a big cat and a little cat. So he made a big cat hole in his door for the big cat, and then he made a little cat hole for the little cat." There he stopped. "But why couldn't the little cat?" Mary began. "Because the big cat wouldn't let it," Laura interrupted. "Laura, that is very rude. You must never interrupt," said Pa. "But I see," he said, "that neither one of you has more sense than the man who cut the 2 cats' holes in his door." Then he laid away the traps and he took his fiddle out of its box and began to play. That was the best time of all. This is part 4. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time for part 5. Goodbye.